Who? Um, what's going on? I was just bugging out. Hmm. Hello. Okay. All right. Um, Hi, it's Shenanidoodles. Um, I know it's been a while since I last. One second, the music is a little loud. It's been a while since I've last um done anything, so I just thought I'd figured, you know what? Why don't I just stream? This is gonna be a little bit of a different stream from the crocheting and stuff. I just kind of wanted to draw for you guys and just kind of mess around. So yeah, hopefully the stream is hopefully the stream looks good on your guys' end. I tried my best to kind of um adjust it the best I could, but yeah, let's just see how it goes. So if you do ever want to see any of the drawings I do, you can see them on my Instagram. It's under the same thumbnail. I'll probably put a link to it at the bottom of this when once it's done. Um, but yeah, so just hope you all enjoy. Hopefully something good comes from this. Hopefully you guys feel inspired. All I'm trying to do is just entertain you guys. So let's just go ahead and get started, shall we? So um, kind of a character I've been wanting to draw for a while is just kind of a character of my own design. Um, that it's a little creepy, I guess you could say. Kind of blend a little bit of some Lovecraftian horror into my drawings a little bit recently. So we'll just go ahead and see what we can get started with. Man, this desk is a little sticky. All right. Let's see. One second. I think the camera got a little. Yeah, one second. The camera got a little messed up. Oh, there it goes. There we are. Hmm. Okay, so hmm, takes a second for me to think of what to get on here. Don't mind the setup. It's kind of temporary right now. I know it looks ghetto, but I just haven't had the actual time to properly get the equipment to fully set up in an actual studio. So you can see my microphone. I got my phone hooked up to like a painting canvas tripod. I haven't gotten an actual one yet, so we'll just make do with what we got. But the whole point, the drawing. So, um, Kind of what I was thinking was we start with, hmm, y- you know what? Let's just go ahead and just kind of get to it. What I'm thinking is with it like a head right here. It's just kind of looking up that, then kind of get the neck muscles, center line, so all the way down. Um, is that? I think that might be a little too hard for you guys to see. I think the light's a little too harsh. Hang on 1 second. Adjust that. Oh, plus, right one. Hmm. Light. Adjusting the light's a little wonky. Hold up. Is that any better? I mean, kind of. I don't know how it looks on your guys' end. So I guess just it's also really light pencil, so it's gonna be a little off. But let's see what else. Hmm. Give a rough idea of what we want. Man, this light is it's weird. It doesn't help that I'm directly on top of the light right here as well, so my shadow doesn't help. Again, kind of a really faulty setup, but I'm trying not to let that stop me from being able to at least draw. No, I still not doing it. Jeez. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, it's still okay. I was just kind of testing something real quick. Yeah, we're good. Come on, being a little slow.
Verizon's got a bonkers deal on the new.
Let's go, boys.
One thing I've noticed about football fans is they all talk like
Yeah, there we go. I should probably be moving smoother. Wait, hold up. I think I got it right about there. Yeah, that kind of looks better ish. It should be good enough for now. I'm not too picky. I just hope it's okay on your guys' end. All right, so back to what we were doing. kind of right now what I'm just trying to do is get a premise of what I want to look for or what I want in the drawing. It's just kind of the planning phase of it all. Well, it's much at the top. I mean, I've been kind of drawing for about not even a full year lately, but I've mostly just been kind of working and all that. Oh, 1 second. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, so I unfortunately have my phone as my camera, so any notifications I get, I have to kind of take down the camera to do it, unfortunately. Until I get a better camera or a better setup entirely. Um no, so kind of what I'm going for is he's just kind of like looking, I'm sure if it hasn't been obvious yet, it's he's kind of like looking up. He's got his chin in the air. He's kind of just kind of embracing himself, open chest, everything. Well, not literally, but like his chest is puffed out. Um, you know, just basking in what's above him pretty much. And I think the problem is I think the lines are just too light. It's a little hard to see. So once I actually get the fine looks, it'll probably look better. But right now, this is just the planning phase, so I'm not too awfully worried about it. And I need to get a background for that because the black is really not good. But we'll get there. Um, Kind of what I wanted to do was either I don't know if I want his hands to kind of be towards like that or his more towards like his hands kind of closer for like some of that dynamic look like that ish perhaps. Well, I mean, that doesn't do it justice, so hang on, let me make it look clearer. Like, kind of like that-ish. Hmm. Yeah, the lighting doesn't help. Hang on, can I scoop back maybe? Or what if I just turn off the light completely? Will that help? Not entirely, because then my head's the shadow. What if I just do this? Trying to just eliminate my shadow completely from the equation. That's kind of better. Sort of, not really. Um, hmm. I'm just kind of checking something real quick. I know I'm not drawing yet, but give me just 1 second. Sometimes my thing is buggy and I just gotta fix that. Okay, that is all right. Okay, sorry about that. Um, so, hmm, what if we hit you? Actually, maybe, maybe he had like two arms ish, but they split. You know, kind of like bicep, and then just two arms in one arm like that. You know what? That actually could work. So, he's got like his hand kind of coming out right here, but he's got another hand that's connected to that same spot right there, coming down like this kind of. Yeah, I mean, be like a General Grievous kind of thing, except just two biceps, four hands, basically. Yeah. You know what? Let's go with that. We're gonna go ahead and just shoot the shot with that. But I gotta make it look better. I was already kind of planning on him having kind of one eye. Um, Kind of like a what that what was that one guy from One Punch Man? One of the enemies that he had to fight with the big eye. Um what was his name again? Uh, the one eye guy. I mean, it's yeah, here it is. What was his name? Monaco? Oh no, that's not it. Trying to research real quick. Hold on. Boros. I believe it was Boros. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna take a guess. It was Boros, the one-eyed guy. Not 100% sure. Kind of like a little bit of inspiration from him, but with my own little twist to it. So we're gonna go ahead and just stick with that. So giant eyeball with like a grin. What if he had like a broken grin? Like a hmm. Actually, I don't know how would that look. He's got like a crooked smile as it goes up, and he's just in the light like that. It's a little hard to see, but he's got a hand reaching up right here. That. Another hand reaching down there. And then another part of his hand over this way. Like that. And then another one up here. Kind of like, kind of a jacked guy. He's got some pretty nice definition to him. But he's kind of burnt. Um, hmm. One of the things I struggle with whenever I'm like drawing is just ideas. I always kind of just wing it. I don't actually have somewhat of a plan on what I'm doing. I just go for it. That's kind of just one of the flaws I have when it comes to drawing. I just kind of go for it without any further thinking. But I mean, I don't think that's overly bad, but I do think that is a problem to some degree. Because I mean, I just haven't, planned anything on how this guy should look. Um, this guy is chaotic looking. If pages on here, the guy, I mean, sure you can already guess chaotic, evil to some degree, but he's supposed to be the root. He's supposed to be what you think of evil. Chaos, destruction, the embodiment of all that's bad. I guess is the best way to put it. But to fully capture that, it's more difficult than it seems because I really want to put as much detail into this guy as possible, but I don't want to overboard it to where it's unrecognizable. Like you can't see what it is that you're supposed to be seeing. It's just lines. It's just too much to take in. So, hmm. It's just one of the things I always kind of struggle with whenever it comes to drawing. Um, hmm. Maybe he could possibly have. Hmm. We're just gonna go ahead and just toy around with it. I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. I'm just gonna go ahead, mess with what I got, and then just go from there. So, I mean, what we already have is pretty cool. I like it. Um, but we just we'll just continue on with what we have because it's supposed to be like a god. This creature is very divine, very godlike. It's powerful, and I want it to represent that power. And the problem with that is, again, don't want to overdo it. So you gotta find. So it's like trying to find a fine craft for it. So like we'll go ahead and just kind of texturalize the chest muscles a bit, get those in there. Kind of poke in. I'm sorry if I twist and turn a lot. That's just kind of a habit I have of whenever it comes to drawing. Can't twist my body to do it. I find that really inefficient. When I could just grab the paper and twist it like that, that's just better for me. If it does bother you, I'm really sorry. It's just kind of my skill and how I learned to draw. But we're gonna go ahead and just kind of start defining him a bit. So quick midsection location, his ribs. What if, yeah, actually, what if his chest is kind of like popping open? So like his ribs are right here in this section, but what if we had his chest kind of like open, just like a mouth. So, like what I mean by that is, let's just erase some of this, get some more room in here. Just kind of quickly draw in a opening in his chest. And then he's got, kind of folds coming out from the sides because, the skin you have to compromise with the skin a little bit of some wrinkles here and there, and erase some. Well, actually, let's go ahead and not do that just yet because what we need to do is the ribs, or maybe it's not ribs that's poking out. It's possibly hands, more hands, or more um like faces poking out, like it almost just bursting out of his chest. Um, so like for example, let's just go ahead and get rid of some of these lines. Just thin them out. Don't completely erase them, but just like um, we got like a small little head right here. Another one right here, a little bigger. And then we have some hands coming out from the side right here, clawing at him. Kind of just coming from the abyss of his body. And we have another arm, maybe it was this guy's arm, but it's kind of covered up by another head right here, looking kind of downwards like that. And it's just um, clawing out like this. And then, kind of show that's a little connection point right there. Neck right there. Yeah, more heads. Another arm, a little bit longer. And we got one that's kind of reaching towards us-ish. We got another head poking out right here. Oops. That looks kind of bad. So like you got to make sure that you can see what you're doing, and it's a regardless of the fact that it's a rough sketch, yes, sometimes you still got to keep it clean to some degree. Because again, I know this looks messy, but I can still capture what I'm trying to get. And that's kind of the goal. You don't want it is a beginning point. You are going to be sketching over it a few more times, but you kind of have no idea what you're doing if it's messy. So, yeah, we got some of the heads kind of bursting out of his chest, some hands kind of scattered in there, and looking like that. He's just kind of almost his entire body is just made of other things. And he kind of was like containing them, but then they just sort of had too many of them, and then they just kind of burst it out of him, and he just smiles. That's the best part about it is that I can just make him look like either he's enjoying it or he's not reciprocating the actual pain. It does it completely up to interpretation for you guys. He could totally up to you. So that's just kind of what I like about drawing. Complete interpretation. As long as it's something that you can clearly tell what it's supposed to be, then you can interpret it however way you want. So he's got the trap or the sorry, neck muscles right around here, connecting down to where his esophagus would be, which is like right here, for instance. And then the collarbones kind of, well, the collarbone's a little bit more closer to the center, but you gotta just extend it out because again, his chest did spread open a little bit, so the collarbones will have to separate to the sides a little bit. So like that ish. Chest muscles ripped open, um, all the way down to kind of the abdomen right here, and shoulders kind of beef them up a bit. That's a mass to that. Add some beef to that taco. You know, that's yeah. This is no small guy. I'm telling you right now, this is not a small dude. So don't feel confident that you can take him. He is not in any way small. Let's go ahead and erase real quick this spot right here because the chest muscles, they actually kind of whenever you look at the chest muscles, yes, they do go up like this, kind of inward towards the shoulder, but from this side, when his chest is outward, you see mostly them kind of pivot right here. They have a curve outward. They curve outward. So more like um that sort of. And then just kind of erase this line right here. There we go. Yeah, they just kind of do the same thing on the other side. I feel like this drawing is going to take a while, which is good. It's good. The I personally like to think the longer the drawing takes, the more effort's needed to imply, and the better the drawing looks. So put as much detail as you want. Go crazy. Just again, keep it controlled. Keep it visibly understandable on what everything is supposed to be, is the way I see it. And now, unless the purpose of that design is supposed to be, crazy and a lot to take in, then go for it. But for me, I'm trying to keep it semi chaotic with this one. But anyway, so go ahead and just start. I'm gonna go ahead and just start adding in the shoulders. You could so now that I did pencils, kind of like now that I'm adding a little bit of thicker lines, you can kind of see it better through here. So that's I don't know which way to do it. There you go. That's better. Um, but the legs, I'm not too worried about the legs. They're the way they are. Unless I really want to move him up just that little bit and get rid of all this, which I kind of don't want to do. I already have a place on where I want him to be. Um, but they're just there's nothing special about the legs. It's mostly just kind of the upper body that is like exaggerated. So yeah, we'll keep them the way they are. Um, little tip with when it comes to the lat muscles right here. One thing that I like to do is I always compare them to being either aligned with the shoulder or just slightly below it. Now, for someone who's bigger, like in his case, he's kind of like a lean, big, athletic size. So his lats are actually going to be kind of orienting around the same side or same like length as his shoulder right here. So when you go and draw that, it's going to just kind of look like that. The shoulder still pops out though, because I mean, it. Well, actually, Yeah, no, 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 I'm doing it right. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the shoulder is going to pop out a little bit more, and the bicep muscle is actually going to still cover that, but the idea is that the sh lat muscles kind of align with the shoulder width right there, because they connect to the rear delt muscle right here, and when you bring them down, either the bicep kind of gets in the way, but when you rise them up from this angle, they align with the shoulder right here. If your if your delts were that big, then the delts would pop out more than the lats. But I mean, those are some crazy delts. So for now, we'll just keep it simple like this. You can fairly see the lat muscles themselves right here, and then the rib cage originally was right here, and then the abdomen muscle went down of him like this. And since again his chest is popping. It is a little up more. You gotta kind of what's the word? Contrast, I guess, with everything else. So the chest is big, and then the waist kind of thins out a bit. So that's why um I draw them kind of closer down this way towards the groin area. Because I mean, the abdomen does lead down to the groin section, but that's why they kind of look um narrow further down they go. I do need to emphasize the chest just a little bit so that way it actually gives that 3D-ish pop to it. So, for example, we just go ahead and get rid of the collarbone section, and from this little spot, you gotta be careful with the hand I have. Or actually, you know what? The hand can be replaced. It's just a basic drawing. Or just it's temporary. Then we can just kind of raise it up a bit like that. And then we'll fix that at the bottom. But like basically you can see the chest kind of widen or heighten a bit. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. And then with the bottom is going to go inward more. So we'll just do it this way. As long as I mean, these are for the most part aligned, so I'm not worried about that. But we'll then kind of do this, give a curve at the bottom. That way it actually looks like the chest is up more. But I'm gonna have to draw kind of a little bit through these guys to actually see where everything is, like that. Oops, I have made a mistake. I can see now that one titty is bigger. Well, sorry, one chest is bigger than the other. So give me 1 second. Let me fix that. Kind of draw a line, make sure that they are the proper curve that they need to be. A little bit higher up on this side, right about here. There we go. Yeah, I like that. And then we'll go to then just get rid of the spots that we drew on, so that way we can actually fit that in with the heads and skulls and all that other good stuff. Uh, since I kind of already know what I'm going for in the center, I'm not going to add too many heads. I will go back and add more if I want to. Um, Yeah, that's good. And then, excuse me. And then go ahead and add a little bit of that pop out from the chest. That kind of darken it a bit so I can see what's head and what's the inside of him. Not like that. Yeah. That just gives me a better idea on the separation between the inside and then the actual things poking out of him. Let's see. I'll go ahead and get rid of that line. That's a random one. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. We will have to add the ribs kind of more inward like this a bit. Here about there, and then curve them inward. Might have to curve them in further more. So it's there. Well, hang on, that looks a little wonky. If I'm not mistaken, the ribs, yeah. So I just kind of was making sure I was doing my anatomy right. Yeah, right about there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty close. Can't complain. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, perfect. And now let's go ahead and just kind of refine. There we go. Let's go ahead and refine the neck muscles a bit more. So this right here, let's go ahead and just there. And then you guys got another neck muscles kind of coming down from the traps right here. Head. That. Sharpen it. It's gonna be sharp for now. I'll smooth it out a little bit later. All right. Is that too curved? Or is that, am I tripping? That doesn't look curved at all in here. Or is it because this is just too straight? I don't. Hmm. Oh, well. Yeah, okay. Brain fart, sorry. Go ahead and just then get that little curve for the hips. Brings down the lats a little bit. I think they're slightly too big. Like that, maybe? Nah, slim the waist. Hang on. Yeah, just about. So we gotta, so in the muscles, we have like a little V cut that happens right about in this section. Well, ends at this section and it starts from the hip, so it kind of looks like that-ish, if anyone was wondering how that works. The good thing about this is that it just kind of helps when you have your hip setup and you are trying to get towards more of the bottom, like to the thighs, but you have a hard time with like the actual midsection, I always just like to use the V cut as a little tool to actually help locate where that groin spot would be or the private spot, and then just kind of curve it out a bit. And now I know it's rigid, but that's okay. And then from that spot, we can also just kind of bring in the rest of the hips towards the legs. Actually, wait, I got it backwards. So, my bad. The hip muscles right here actually are the V cuts. That's what I meant. So these actually help separate that the hip from the thigh, basically. This right here. So you go in, this, got that nice and sharp, right about there. There we go. And then, but you still can add like a little bit of some of that curve from the sides right here, depending on the anatomy of your character. I just do that. I tend to draw um hips a little wide for most of my characters because personally, I always give them for some reason big legs. It's just a habit of mine. I've always just been used to having to give very defined hips, very noticeable hips to kind of help separate torso from the rest. But that's just the way I do it. So that's like that. There we go. And then with the legs, I mean, they kind of just poke out. You got, the kneecaps right here, which very simple. You just take for the kneecaps, you just kind of square them like that. If actually, I don't know if you could see that. You just make a box, and then from that tendon right here, this spot, you got the main. Well, it's not the main quad, but you have basically a split right there in this quad right here, and that basically connects to the kneecap right here. And when you have it separated like that, you could then use that to help kind of separate the other quad muscles like that. And from this quad muscle right here, it actually kind of runs more towards in between the midsection right here. And you have another leg muscle kind of in between that kind of runs up here. And then this one connects to the hips. If that helps anybody. I don't know if it does. That's just how I learned. When I locate the knee, I know that's this muscle right here. And once this muscle right here is usually higher up, closer towards the hip. So once I locate this, I can then detect where these fit. That's how I do it. Let me go ahead and check something real quick. I know I'm kind of like up and personal with the camera. So, um, 1 second. I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look at something else. I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look at something else. I I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look at something else. Yeah. I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look at something else. Yeah. I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look at something else. Yeah. I have a really bad computer. That's why it lags every time I'm trying to look
Sorry
at
about that.
something else.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just check it something. All right. Hmm. All right. Yeah, we're good. Um. So yeah, that's how I. Again, that's how I kind of do the legs personally. You could do the same thing on this side as well. Just locate where you want the knee. Follow that kind of up closer towards the hips. Draw a circle, and then from that circle, just draw another circle kind of below it. And that one rides all the way up. And then the guiding hip, the guiding muscle right here. And there you go. Like that. So, yeah, my pencil's starting to get a little dull. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I think we're doing good so far. I mean, can't complain. Next thing we are gonna try to do is we're gonna do the arms. One thing I, if I'm being honest, I am not the best when it comes to doing hands. They take me way too many attempts, but I do think when they come out well, they look great. Like when you are set with them, can't really complain. Because again, a lot of people struggle with hands, and that's just a fact. So it doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, these hands aren't going to look perfect. I mean, this guy's janky looking, so I can't expect the hands to look pretty. So we're gonna just start on one side. Um, kind of align the proportions right here, right there. So he kind of has pretty long arms, so kind of that's why his hands kind of pass the normal length for most people. So here's the elbow point right here. And basically what we are going to do is we're going to start off with like a simple box. And if you know this position, usually the bicep is facing outwards over here, like it's facing this way, and the triceps back here. So to kind of draw that, what I usually do is when I understand how big or how far out the bicep stands, I just give it a nice, decent circle. And if it's from the side view, that bicep is actually going to align with the midsection right here, like this. And then the tricep is going to kind of follow through with it like that. But since his arm is slightly tilted inward, so it's not flat like this, we actually are going to give a little bit of some coverage over that midsection with the bicep. So what I mean by that is instead of it aligning with the line or the midsection, we're actually going to draw it slightly over the midsection like this. And that leaves the tricep muscle actually being covered up by the bicep, which is usually how it works. And the tricep muscle, it's not round like that. It's only round like that towards the top of the arm. It actually kind of curves inward towards the elbow right here. So like that. Just kind of this isn't what the elbow looks like from this angle. I'm just kind of giving it a quick indent and hinting at where the elbow stands. So from here, you actually connect the bicep towards the shoulder right here. Kind of thicken up that muscle a bit right here. There we go. Now, interestingly enough, the tricep and the lat muscle actually kind of squish together. So instead of it looking like this, what you're actually going to have is a slight press where they follow a similar path up like that. Granted, the lat muscle kind of does show the path more than the tricep muscle. It's just more or less the tricep muscle is squished with the lats. So that's why it looks like this a little bit. Pressed is the best way to put it. And from here, we got the bicep muscle placed. We know where that's located. We know where it's connected. We know how it looks. And from there, we are going to go ahead and do the forearm. The way I do the forearm is pretty simple. It's just a standard find the midsection of the hand and then draw a straight line like this and then connect it like that. This is how I do this is how I start my forearms because this actually gives a general idea of how the forearms actually look because they're kind of wide from the sides and then they uh, thin out towards the top of the hand. And um, the thumb section, this area is actually called the radius, and this section I believe is called the ulna. I could be mistaken. Um, but the thumb, that part of the arm is usually kind of thicker than this side, and that leads towards this muscle right here actually leads towards the brachialis, and especially at the joint right here, it's called the radial brachialis. And usually you can kind of um, define that or figure out where that is simply just based on the thumb alone, because the radius always follows the thumb. So when you go ahead and do your uh, tendon point right here, you can go ahead and kind of draw a circle, identifying where they are. Just kind of poke out the radius a little bit more. There's a little bit more meat behind that because of the thumb, and then just draw that towards that. And kind of an idea of what it looks like. And kind of through that, the bicep connects to the elbow right here. That elbow is poking out way too much. That the elbow is not visible in this perspective. That's why I kind of tuck it in a little bit more. This angle with the arms aren't easy to do. I also just realized I think this is too big. Um, we could go ahead and just kind of shrink that down a bit. Keep the length, just thin it out. Excuse me. Um, hmm. Yeah, like that. Yeah, there we go. Um, hand is gonna be a little tricky because I actually don't know what I want to do with the hand. But I mean, here's what we got so far. It starting to come together. You can see it clear. But from this elbow, we actually forgot to do this hand right here, and this hand it actually is facing forward a bit, so it's gonna look bigger, and the palm is actually gonna be downward more. It's gonna be flatter. So the way I do that is I just kind of start with curves for where the knuckles are gonna be, like this, and then I give a slight twist right there. Hang on, let me thicken that up a bit for you. Kind of like that. And from that point, we already can identify where the forearm's going to go. It's going to go down this way. And from this, we actually have the spots for the fingers in between here. And those can go as high up as you want them to go. And if I'm not mistaken, okay, yeah, thumbs out this way. Had to remember. So this is kind of just the idea of what it would look like. Um, what we could do is actually kind of thin out this part of the hand a little bit more, like this. And then we can put a circle right here because this part kind of goes into the forearms, like this. Actually, I just realized too flat. Because again, it's all about making sure that the drawing can pop. So when it comes to making things look 3D, you are going to be overlapping a lot of things. So that means that this bicep is actually going to be covered. A lot of this part right here is actually going to be covered by that hand. So when you do it, draw straight up. I like to add a curve to mine. That's just the way I draw things. So actually, let me go ahead and just um, erase a little bit of that bicep right there. That way I just don't get it confused. Right there. And we don't want it too high because again, they go right about right. If I position myself right, they're like this. That's what he's like. So they could about go up to the shoulder. So we can go ahead and just, we could just leave it right there. Elbow point right there, I circled. Um, quite big right there. Well, actually bigger. Whoops. I just hit the camera. Whoops. Kind of bigger like this. But then circle here, 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 and there. Then we bring them in like that. With the hands right here, since they are closer, they're going to be bigger. So they're going to look kind of like this ish. Again, this is purely just kind of just speculation or just testing with it. I also don't like to tilt. A lot of drawing is a lot of trial and error, and that's what's going to be happening a lot for this drawing. The camera shaking too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start with the hand first, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, arch this way. We're gonna tilt the hand towards more towards the body actually, like that. And again, make it bigger because it's closer to you or closer to us as the viewer. It's been about an hour, okay. Yeah, okay, here we go. So something like this. It's a little hard to see, but yeah, this is just a rough sketch so far. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just call it good for tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and just save the rest for this tomorrow. So yeah. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video or the stream at least. This was kind of the first. I plan to do more of this kind of stuff. I just haven't had the time to. I've been kind of busy lately with work and all that, so I haven't even had the time to really make the normal videos that I do make with the crochet and stuff. But hopefully this was a good change of pace. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I'll save the rest for tomorrow. So hopefully you guys want to see that. So see ya.